Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is all about how to get back on track with your life and your goals, because I already know some of you have fallen off track with your goals and you've lost that momentum that you had at the beginning of the year. So I'm here to share 3 simple principles that I follow that help me to stay on track with my goals all year long. And if you want to know what these principles are, then keep on watching, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into this video. So towards the beginning of the year, I created this video, how to glow up in 2021, and it did really well. And I feel like it's honestly because during the beginning of the year, that's the time when we're all so motivated and inspired to create healthier habits, to make changes in our lives, and to finally go after those things that we have been wanting to do for so long. But what I see happen a lot is as the months go by, the weeks go by, people start to lose that initial motivation and inspiration, and they stop working towards their goals. So with us being halfway through the year, I thought this would be the perfect time to share the 3 principles that I follow that help me to stay motivated all year long, so that we can cultivate that new year, new me momentum once again and actually make it stick. And the 3 principles that I'm going to be talking about today are holding yourself accountable, staying disciplined, and prioritizing delayed gratification over instant gratification. Accountability is so important because the more that we recognize we are in control of our lives, the more power we have over it. And as long as you put blame on other people or on external things as to why your life is the way that it is, or why you're not working towards your goals, or why you're not where you want to be, you will never be in control of your life, and life will always happen to you instead of making life happen for you. If you are someone who has fallen off track with your goals or with life in general, this is the perfect time to ask yourself, where am I responsible for not being where I want to be right now? And yes, sometimes there are things that are absolutely outside of our control, such as a worldwide pandemic, for example. That's something that nobody had control over. But what we do have control over is how we react to situations that happen to us or life events. To ask yourself, in what ways am I responsible for the way that my life is now? And asking yourself these questions is so important, because once you're able to recognize in what ways you're holding yourself back, in what ways you are to blame for not being where you want to be, you can then make those changes necessary. And I also think this is the perfect time to look over the goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year and see if they actually are still aligned to who you are now and where you want to be. There may be some goals that you find that you don't necessarily want to work towards anymore, or they don't feel good anymore, or it's just not something that is a priority, and that's definitely okay. Something that I tell my private clients when they're working with me and they're setting goals for us to work together towards is that the goals that they set have to be inspiring and motivating to them. And when they think about these goals, they have to want to take action towards these goals, because if it's not something that they truly want, chances are they're going to fall off track again and not take action because it's something that's not that important to them. Self-discipline is the one character trait that will get you from where you are now to where you want to be, hands down. I always prioritize self-discipline over motivation and inspiration, and let me tell you why. Motivation and inspiration are feelings, and feelings come and go. Feelings are not constant. Feelings are always changing, and you can't really control when you feel motivated or inspired or happy or sad or angry. Yes, you can do things to try to cultivate those feelings, but for the most part, you can't control when you get a random burst of inspiration or motivation. It just comes and goes as it pleases. Now, on the other side of that, self-discipline is a character trait. It's something that is innate within you. It's something that is constant, and it's a character trait that you can tap into at any time, whether you are sad, happy, motivated, inspired. It's always going to be within you. And this is why I always tell my clients, prioritize and rely on self-discipline over motivation, inspiration, because self-discipline is what's going to get you up every day, get you doing those things that you need to do to get you to where you want to be, even on those days where you don't feel like doing them. So if you are someone who struggles with self-discipline, or maybe your self-discipline isn't exactly where you would like for it to be, I found this article that talks about 7 ways to improve your self-discipline. I'll post it right here, and I will also leave the link to the article down below. Some ways that I have practiced improving my self-discipline is just starting with simple things, such as committing to my morning routine every single morning, setting small goals for myself weekly, and making sure I'm hitting those goals. The more that you practice self-discipline, the stronger your self-discipline will be for the bigger and harder things in life. We live in a society where we're just so used to everything being so instant and at our fingertips, and things just happen very instantly. While this is a blessing and a privilege to have these things at our fingertips, I also feel it's had a negative impact in our society and how we think and how we operate and how we go about life. And the negative impacts that I've seen is we give up easily when it comes to our goals and our dreams. And we think that if things don't happen when we want them to, or when we expect them to, or overnight, then it's just not worth working towards, or it's not meant to be, or we just give up. What I've learned from building my business, building my social media following on my podcast and my YouTube and everything, is that things worth having and things that are meaningful take time and patience and love and nurturing. Things that are going to be sustainable and lasting aren't going to happen overnight. And I think a lot of times, especially with social media, we can see people who are very successful, very wealthy, maybe they have a lot of followers or whatever, and we look at them and we think that they got there overnight. But what we oftentimes forget is even they started with 0, and even they had to start from the beginning. What we don't see are the long nights of working hard, of feeling frustrated, of crying, of feeling lost, and trying and failing and trying again. As the outsiders, we don't see any of that. We just see the end results. We see them succeeding and being wealthy and having lots of followers, or whatever, your version of success is. But it took effort to get there. I know it can be really discouraging when you are putting all of this effort and you're working really, really hard and you feel like you're not making any progress and you're not getting anywhere. But there are things happening behind the scenes that we can't even see happening for us. When I was first growing my podcast, it seemed like it wasn't growing for a long time. It seemed like only a handful of people were listening to my podcast. And at first it was really discouraging. The part I don't see is when someone is discovering my podcast for the first time, or when someone is sending an episode of mine to their friend because they think their friend would really like it, or when someone is having a conversation with their friend and they happen to bring up my name and my podcast in conversation. You're not there for those moments, but just because you can't see anything happening, it doesn't mean things aren't happening behind the scenes. And I want to share a little story that I read in a book some time ago. I can't remember what book it was, but there is a story of a man who, during I think the gold rush time, where like people were digging up gold in California, this man bought a tractor or some type of machine to help dig up the gold. And he was digging and digging and digging, and he didn't find any gold, so he gave up digging, trying to look for gold. And what he ended up doing was selling his machine to somebody else. The person who bought the machine started digging for gold exactly where the first guy was digging, and he ended up striking gold and finding all of the gold that the first guy was searching for. This story really, really stuck with me because it's the epitome of why it's important to be patient and stay consistent and to keep going even when you feel like you're not getting anywhere. You never know when you're gonna have your breaking moment. And I wanted to share that story with you because I hope that it's as helpful as it is for me. And there you have it, my loves. Those are the 3 principles that I've implemented in my life, and since doing so has helped me to stay consistent and on track with my life and with my goals. But before I end this video, I want to end it off by saying, yes, it's important to hold yourself accountable and make sure you're taking control of your life, but make sure you are doing it in a loving way. Don't be so hard on yourself just for falling off track. You're human, life happens. Sometimes we're thrown curveballs. And lastly, in those moments where you feel yourself falling off track again, just go back to your why. Why did you start in the first place? Why are reaching these goals important to you? How will your life change once you accomplish these things? And just remember that. I just wanted to end this video with that note. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.